Welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast. I'm Tyler,
I'm Jesse.
And I'm Eli.
and we are back together for the first time since was it last preseason we did the last episode all together? It's been a long time.
I think we had a season review episode
Okay.
because I was actually reviewing it not too long ago and
Ah.
was reminded of something. You actually had a pretty good prediction in there, so I'm hoping that that turned out to be accurate. So I'm hoping that you yeah, come with the good predictions tonight as well.
So it was a season review and I gave a prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a preseason preview or something or I'm sorry, an
Off-season preview.
off-season preview. Yeah, right. Yeah.
What
So
did he get
one
right?
of these things that we do. So, I'd have to review it, but I
Oh
think
my
it's
gosh.
something along the lines of like I think it was something about power or I know that Pete Alonso was kind of the solution, or he was kind of the thing that made the prediction right. So I'm gonna actually, what I might do is I might go back,
Okay.
like
Okay.
put those
Yeah,
things
you're teasing a
together
thing that you don't
and then
fully
make a
remember.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fully remember,
Yeah.
but
All
We're
right.
good.
I do know you were right, Tyler.
Well,
So
that's
good
that's the most
job.
important
Yeah, right.
the most important aspect of it. So I appreciate that.
Definitely. Yeah, of
All right, well,
course. You
even
got it.
so, that's October probably. So that's, 5 months ago, 6 months ago at this point. So it's been a
Yeah.
while. We do talk to each other in the meantime. We text one another. But as we were just chatting before, we're all busy with adult stuff to different degrees and times and all that stuff. And that's why the podcast is relatively segmented the way it has been. But we'll try to do these occasionally. But now that the season's starting, at least the volume of podcasts coming out should be around that two per week, like we typically do in season. So we're going to kick it off today, though, with season predictions, basically what we do every year. Um, Usually there's a nugget or two in there that ends up being true, but we miss a lot as well. So you be the judge this time around. Jesse will maybe bring this back up 6 months from now and vaguely remember what we said, which will be a real treat for all of us. Um, but yeah, I don't know, guys. Before we get into anything we want to talk about, before we get into some of the topics we've got here.
Just really excited for the season, despite my thoughts and predictions for it. So I'm
Despite them.
really, yeah, right. I'm really excited for it though.
What an
Yeah, and
ominous statement.
look, we really have one way to go, from last year. So it'll
Yeah.
it'll be it'll be better than it was last year. I feel confident in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll get into the vibes of things here in just a minute. I think first, talk about that offseason that you just kind of alluded to a minute ago, Jesse. It was a busy offseason for the Orioles. I don't need to go through the laundry list of things that they did, but they've added pitching, they've added power, um, and arguably maybe not the highest spenders of the offseason, but maybe the busiest team in all of Major League Baseball this offseason. So I don't know, Eli, if you want to give them a grade and A to F, or whatever. If you want to do out of 10, you tell me percentage, whatever you want to do. What grade would you give the Baltimore Orioles for this past off, and Mike Elias in particular for this past off season?
Yeah, I think I'd go with a solid B. I think there was an awful lot to accomplish. I think we had to remake a lineup, remake a rotation, like at least secure a bullpen. We didn't fully remake it, but secure, some important parts of a bullpen. And then on top of it, we also had to hire a manager and, like revamp a coaching staff that clearly did not quite live up to expectations last year. So I think there was this huge laundry list. And Tyler, you just said we might have been one of the busiest teams out there. I think when you factor in something like that managerial situation, the coaching situation, I mean, the amount of just personnel turnover on this team has been astronomical. Um, I saw somebody note that only six of the 26 guys on the opening day roster this year were on the opening day roster last year. So, that gives you just kind of a sense of exactly how much of this team has turned over between the trade deadline, between free agency this year, whatever. And I thought we did pretty well. I think that I think Pete is a phenomenal addition. I think Taylor Ward is a really great addition. He's going to be super steady. I think he's like the most secure, like 780 to 810 OPS in the entire league. He's not going to go above that. It's not ever going to fall below it. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I like what we did with the rotation. I think if I had to knock them in any way, not really getting the upside that we were hoping for and kind of talking a big game for is probably the one knock there. I think that there are lots of reports that the O's were very, very much in on Ranger Suarez, did not close the deal there, proceeded to let Framber walk to Detroit on a really, really, really affordable contract. So there were kind of bigger fish out there. That said, I think where we are right now, something like seeing Dean Kramer get optioned, that says we're in a much 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 better place than we were last year. I think having Dean and Cade Povic's depth at AAA like bodes pretty well. And then yeah, the other kind of big ticket, I'm really excited for Ryan Helsley. I
Hmm.
think that what we I always love seeing a guy just blow 100 miles an hour at the top of the zone, and he will do that. He's added this new splitter. I think it's rounding into form, even if it's not quite the way we expected with some of these injuries and such.
Yeah, it feels like Elias's style to a degree. Like the team doesn't feel finished to me, like to be a contender, a deep playoff run, but it does feel to begin a season to be like competent and to put them in a position to make those moves at the deadline to shore up the bullpen or maybe to get that higher end piece. Like if the Tigers fall out of it, could Skubal end up here? We're going to see Joe Ryan tomorrow with the Twins. Like the Twins are probably not going to be good. Could that be a target at the deadline? Like the team is set up to maybe make those moves that you probably wanted them to make in December and January. But to your point, a lot of good stuff happened anyway. So Eli says B. Jesse, do you have, what do you think about that grade? What would you give the Orioles for this past offseason?
Yeah, I mean, before Eli said it, I was sort of thinking a B too. I do think that kind of the situation the Orioles are in. I think that, of course, there's a lot of pressure to compete and um, to win immediately. This team was in the playoffs the last couple years prior to the last season. And, they took a big step backwards last year, and there was a lot of um, I think this organization and Elias himself is feeling a lot of pressure to kind of return or recapture a lot of what they had just a couple seasons ago. And I think, the net effect of doing that is, you end up sort of finding some band-aids on some larger sort of structural issues in the organization. I do think I'm sorry. I do think this team does have a chance to compete for a playoff spot, especially given the expanded playoffs. You don't necessarily need that many wins to be in contention for the playoffs. But I do think that, the kind of like what you referenced, the Orioles had to sort of overhaul so many different components and parts of this team, and by doing that and given the monetary constraints that probably existed, etc. I think Elias did a decent job, but I do think perhaps there is some questioning about kind of the approach, and maybe the Orioles trying to compete this upcoming season, maybe put some band-aids on a couple holes or problems this organization had, rather than trying to find solutions or investing in a plan or a pathway that sort of put them in a better position to fill some of these holes in a couple years or in 3 years. So I think, of course, going in that direction would also present its own problems. So I'm not necessarily saying that all of those, I'm not saying the Orioles should have given up on this year and planned more for the future, especially given Henderson, Adley, and some of these guys that are approaching free agency, and the Orioles need to do everything they can to sort of capitalize. But it is to say that I think the Orioles found some sort of immediate short-term solutions that may or may not be sufficient for
Yeah,
this upcoming
Jess,
year,
can you
and
can you
we'll
be a
see
little
what
more specific?
happens
Like what
about.
What are these band-aids that you're talking about?
So I'm thinking a little bit about, so we have like Bassett for this year. Now Bassett is going to be fine. He's going to be a solid pitcher in the rotation. I'm thinking, I mean, Taylor Ward is sort of a short-term solution. I think he'll be fine as well. Um, some of the bullpen additions I'm thinking about. So I think there's just kind of like um different spots around where you kind of look at, and yeah,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
feel like yeah, the Orioles are kind of trying to do something that gets immediate results, and perhaps putting us in slightly a more difficult position a year down the road or 2 years down the road. So kind of this prioritization of these short-term band-aids rather than trying to figure out structural fixes to issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The strategy this offseason, it was a different look from Elias. He still didn't really go all in on any. I mean, Alonso was pretty all in terms of the financial commitment, but and he in the Shane Baz trade was big in terms of the number of prospects and like maybe Slater DeBrune could potentially be like a top 100 type of prospect or whatever. But he didn't really go all in there either. But it did seem like sort of an admission from Elias that whatever the configuration of pitching talent was in the organization, they needed to rethink it in some degree because they by keeping the major league pitching staff, like the coaching staff of the pitching, uh, part of the organization together, they're saying we really like what we have at the big league level, but there's maybe something a level deeper that we're missing, whether that's talent, recognition or development in the lower levels. I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of part of the recipe that doesn't seem to be working because it's not matriculating up to the big league level. Like Bradish is a success story, but the Orioles didn't draft Bradish. Rogers is a success story in terms of the development they've done with him since they've gotten him, but again, didn't draft him. A lot of these the pitching staff is all guys that were not drafted by the Orioles. Again, Kramer not drafted, but they developed him. So there could be something there where they're kind of admitting we need to figure that out. And in the meantime, what we can do is we do know we're good at identifying hitters in the draft and developing them to a degree. Let's package those guys together to get the pitching. And maybe that is the solution long term is like, we know we're good at identifying hitting prospects. Let's just keep drafting them in bunches and then bundle them together to get the quality arms once they get their first Tommy John out of the way and they've been through double A or whatever. And because like Boz is like a guy that he's basically, I guess, a better version of Rodriguez, Grayson Rodriguez. Like they kind of swapped him the two for one another, minus all the prospects they gave up for Boz. But the injury stuff is behind Boz. There's still the ceiling there. Like maybe there's something there because there was clearly believe in the pitching coaching staff at the big league level. But why it hasn't turned into like a top 10 rotation year after year, I don't think they quite know why that's happening. And the hitting is kind of the opposite problem where they're getting the intriguing young players, but they're not a juggernaut offense year after year. They had to go supplement that with Ward and with Alonso, and those are expensive additions they've made. So there's definitely like missing pieces there. So I kind of get what you're saying with putting band-aids over there. I don't know how replicable that is like year after year. Like you can't necessarily, you're not going to have a Grayson Rodriguez to trade for a Taylor Ward every year. You have to figure something else out there. But this does buy them time. It buys them time for Colton Cowser to figure out whatever happened last year, for Dylan Beavers to maybe, get his feet wet a little bit at the big league level. Maybe Basayo comes in and is a sensation. It does buy them time, but I think it was a good bridge offseason in that way. I don't think I would have wanted them to go the opposite way and like rebuild. That would have been problematic. So I like the approach. I would give them probably a B plus. I think the rotation, I like the depth of it. They've probably got 8 or 9 starters now that you feel like pretty good about. Like, no, I don't want Cade Povich or Brandon Young in the rotation every fifth day, but I'm cool with them making 10 starts in a year. Like, that's fine. And I really like Kyle Bradish. The Baltimore Banners did a piece on how like other scouts view the Orioles. They talked to some scouts around the league and they praised the Orioles for their depth of starting pitching, but questioned their lack of like an ace on the staff. And they referred to Kyle Bradish as a really good three on a championship team, which to me is like outrageous. Like he's at least a two to me. Like even though he's had injury stuff the last couple of years, when he's pitched the last 3 seasons, he's been, I mean, a top 20 pitcher in baseball. Like he's an ace, probably a number two at worst. Um, and I'm really excited for him this year. I kind of expect Trevor Rogers to take a step back a little bit and Bradish to really, while the innings probably won't be there, he'll probably be more like 120 innings or something, just taking days off or skipping starts. I feel pretty good about the rotation depth. So the only question I really have is the bullpen. I wanted them to get another veteran arm. Kittredge is fine. Helsley, I am excited about, but getting the ball from, a starter to Helsley on a regular basis to me is going to be questionable. Those sixth, seventh, eighth innings, I'm a little bit worried about those. But I think all in all, I'd probably give him a B plus for the offseason. All right. Anything else on the offseason before we kind of get to like how we're feeling just overall right now? Anything we want to talk about?
My
So
my only thing is, I definitely, you know, agree with your analysis on the Bradish being a three. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were saying he's a five on the Dodgers, like, I can agree with that. But
They said he's
like
probably a two or a
being,
really good three on a championship team, which,
yeah,
okay. I mean, like you said, the Dodgers, maybe, but
yeah,
every pitcher on the Dodgers gets hurt every August. So, like, I don't know. By the time they get to the World Series, it's Yamamoto and Bradish. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. But
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, all right, well, let's just talk about how we're feeling going in. I mean, we've kind of alluded to this a little bit. We've talked about it, but getting more specific about it, Eli, like the vibes right now, opening days tomorrow, we're kind of half paying attention to this Yankees Giants game in the background. AL East is tough, but and you don't got to give exact predictions because we're going to do that in just a second. But how are you feeling about the 2026 Baltimore Orioles on the eve of opening day?
yeah, I like the team very much. I think the Kobe Mayo at third base experiment's going to be really interesting. I think
Hmm.
Jordan Westberg was, I think the lineup is very, very deep without him, but I think the extent to which he made the picture look really rosy while he was here might have been underestimated by us throughout the offseason. And, kind of the outlook going forward that we might not have him for the entire season. It is a UCL injury. So I think considering that, there's this kind of ominous gloom over the whole thing.
Yeah,
um, but, I think that i- in my I don't know. In my glance forward, like I think that Blaze is a capable second baseman. I think he could be starting there for some like second or third division team, and that would be just fine. Um, and I think that like Kobe's probably going to hit the ball better. We saw a good September. He's been great all spring, so maybe even if he makes a couple errors, the bat will make up for it. So there's reason to like see a path through the darkness, but um, yeah, I think that, the thing that worries me is just like having a little bit of a slow start before Holiday comes back in a couple weeks and all that stuff. And meanwhile, yeah, I mean, the AL beast is rearing its head, and we have, the Red Sox, Yankees, and Blue Jays all just kind of tearing forward. We'll see. But I guess like I like the team as a whole, but I am worried that circumstances are not in our favor.
yeah. Injuries have already kind of reared their head a little bit. I mean, the encouraging news on Holiday, it sounds like he's starting a rehab assignment like opening day with Norfolk, which is good. I mean, we have to temper expectations there too. Jackson Holiday has not been the top prospect player we hoped he was going to be yet. I think the Orioles would love for him to be their leadoff hitter. He was that last year, but the numbers do not warrant him being that again when he gets back. He's more of an 8 or 9 hitter right now. So you're hoping he takes that leap. Kobe Mayo, I'm excited about him. The thing with him, he didn't really strike out this spring either, which is encouraging. He was hitting the ball and not striking out. Didn't really walk either, but again, I don't need him to be Jordan Westbrook. I need him to be more like the six hitter, give some pop. The fielding is a question mark. Um, Jesse, how are you feeling over there? Yeah, I can't read you right now. I'm not sure if you're positive or negative. You seemed excited when we started, but then there was some pessimism. So I don't know how are you
Yeah,
how are you doing?
definitely. So, I, I definitely agree with a good amount of what Eli said. I mean, I am, I want to be cautiously optimistic. I think in all likelihood, we're looking at a team that falls somewhere in the range of 500 to, eking into the playoffs in all likelihood.
Sure.
I don't think this is going to be a team that sort of resurrects the 101 win energy that we had. It feels like such a short time ago, and it kind of disappeared quickly before
To
our
to be fair
eyes,
though, that team didn't feel like a 101 win team going into the year
Right.
either.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Right.
you know.
That's true. So I think that's kind of like the range we're looking at. I don't see a situation where the Orioles just, storm the AL East and win 98 games or whatever, right? So I kind of see us in that range. So that's not a thrilling spot to sort of be in. Like when you're kind of conceptualizing that as kind of the window, right? Um, so, of course, if, I'm a Blue Jays, Dodgers fan, I'm of course like sort of, thinking about myself or, the team kind of in a much probably better position, at this point, as we approach opening day. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I think about that. I am also, I mean, I did an episode on the outfield last night. I do have significant concerns about that as well. But I think ultimately, a lot of it will also be the tough division that you both highlighted. Um, and also, I just kind of am worried about the significance of the injuries, right, throughout the course of the year. It was, of course, really, really a bad thing, or a destructive force for this team last year. And I'm concerned about Westberg, and even when he does get back, what things are going to look like for him. And you know, Bradish and Rogers, I mean, especially Bradish, if he's healthy, I really don't have many concerns about him. I really do have a lot of confidence in him because the stuff is just great. But um, you know, he frequently demonstrates that, he's not really able to stay healthy an entire season. So it kind of feels like nerve-wracking a little bit, for when, the injury for him is going to be happening. And if somebody like Bradish kind of goes down, that's going to have significant consequences because he is basically the ace of this team. So,
Although I will say the
at least
Bradish
in
injury
my
stuff is really
eyes.
just like it's just the elbow, and then he had that
Yeah.
Mhm.
one leg thing like a couple of years ago when the ball got hit at him. I mean, he's
Right.
and he's like a dog. I mean, he'll go out there and when he had the elbow thing going into whatever 2024, he's like he got back on the field before John Means did, made a couple more starts than John Means, and then was gone because the elbow just went. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's
Right.
had the UCL stuff, so it's you never know. But
Hmm.
it's a fair worry to have because I think the rotation while there is depth to it, it feels a bit top heavy. Like Bradish, I think, is the most proven. Rogers was amazing last year. Is he going to repeat that? And then after that, it feels like a relatively steep drop off to like 4 and 5 type of pitchers of Eflin and Bassett and Boz is kind of the wild card. Like he could be amazing. The organization is talking him up like he's going to be amazing, but is he going to be amazing? It hasn't been amazing yet. The stuff is great, but we'll see about that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think your analysis of it is like it's got to be what Mike Elias is thinking too, and almost like Mike Elias's plan is like I'm going to build like an 85 win team. Maybe they win 90, maybe they win 80, maybe we make a couple trades at the deadline to push us towards that 90 a little bit more. Like I think
Hmm.
that's all in the realm of possibility. You know, and I'm looking at it through orange tinted glasses. The team right now does feel to me much better than the team going into 2025. And the injury stuff, totally legitimate. I worry about, yeah, Westbrook and Holiday already hurt. Cowser missed a ton of time last year. O'Neal missed a ton of time last year. Adley's missed time. There's a lot of guys that you worry about. And also like Gunner, had the injury a little bit last year, but it's like if Gunner goes down, I mean, the season's sunk. Like that's like the guy they can't really withstand losing him for anything more than like a month. Like maybe they could get through a month without Gunner, but anything more than that, I think the whole season is kind of go down the tubes. Which again, Gunner's not shown to be injury prone, but when a lot of your hopes pin on one guy, that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I will
Definitely.
say that, I mean, to that effect though, like we know that Gunnar had this shoulder problem last year, and
Hmm.
but I guess we've been mostly negative in our vibe check, so want to bring a little
No,
bit of
I
positivity.
think
Yeah,
they're going to be a winning baseball team. I'll say that. I
yeah,
think they're going to
right.
be a winning baseball team.
I think like there's very much a world where Gunnar just returns to a 6 or 7 win player this year,
Yeah.
and is hitting the ball like he's 30% better than league average, and like Gunnar and Pete could be as strong of an offensive duo really as there is in the league, straight up. I mean, I outside of the Dodgers and their whole situation, Kyle
Yeah.
Tucker and Shohei Ohtani, but um, I mean, I think the lineup as constructed is really really strong. I think we have the ability to play platoons. I think that um, there's really like a, a lot of reason to be very very optimistic about the position player group as a whole. I think the offseason progressed as though we were going to have Jackson and Westberg on opening day. And obviously that has changed things, but the vision of building an offensive juggernaut, I think, is still very much like it, coming to fruition a little bit. And I think that there's absolutely a world where we're one of the best 5 offenses in the game this year. Um, with some of those rebounds, with a better suite of health. I mean, something that I was just reminded of, like the Orioles had 2 players play in 100 games last year, Holiday and Henderson. Just like nobody was on the field for any like significant stretch of time where they could have built up a routine, whatever, whatever. I mean, injuries really decimated the team. We had the trade deadline. There was just no consistency. So I do think that was a like worst case scenario. Obviously, we don't need to litigate last year again. But
Mm.
I mean, I think there's reason to be optimistic, particularly on the offensive side, about how this comes together.
Yeah. No, a good point. I think that the offense has to be good too. It almost has to be like a top
Yeah,
five
yeah.
ish offense because the rest of the team has good elements to it, but the offense really needs to be clicking for sure. That's a good point. All right, cool. Let's get into some predictions. These shouldn't take too terribly long. I think we've done the majority of the show to this point. We kind of just run through like awards as they pertain to the Orioles. So I don't know if this necessarily means these players will win these awards for the league at large, although they could. I think the Orioles have some contenders for honestly all of the major awards, which if you guys want to give that take on it, please do. But we'll go through Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, any other kind of awards out there, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger. We can talk about that, and then we'll get into some win-loss predictions. So, Jesse, maybe I'll go to you first for Rookie of the Year. Feels like two big contenders there for the Orioles, but I'll let you give your take on Orioles Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, so I'll say Basayo. I just think I think and he's actually I'm gonna bring him up later. But even whatever his offensive whatever limitations he has with his offensive contributions, which it's not. He's definitely a very, very capable hitter. Don't get me wrong, and I think long term he'll be potentially a very good major league hitter. How he's going to do this year offensively, I think, is definitely a bit more of a question. But I feel like whatever uh, shortcomings he has offensively, him being a catcher, and him being uh, having some skills, even though he is still crafting his abilities at the position. I think that'll be enough value to make him the most valuable Oriole by the end of the year.
The
So,
most valuable Oriole by the end of the year. Basayo.
yeah.
Wow.
No, oh,
Oh,
sorry. No, no,
okay.
no. Sorry. Rookie of the year, for
Okay.
the Orioles. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
like
no,
he's like
no. Yeah,
tearing
yeah.
down his
No, no.
offense. He's
He
like he's
he's
still
going to
gonna learn
hit
how to
50.
catch.
He's going to
Most
hit
valuable
50.
Oriole.
Yeah, he's going to hit 50 home runs. He's going to be way better than
I
Henderson.
know.
No, no,
I was
no.
like, that
Yeah.
is bold. That is all of
Sorry.
the things we have written
Yeah,
down.
right, right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right.
All right, Basayo. Yeah, no,
No,
fair enough. But
rookie of the year. Yeah.
okay, and yeah, Basayo, and he could be a candidate for it the whole league. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, Eli, what do you think about that? Basayo or somebody else?
Yeah, besides my answer too. Jesse, like, I guess cast a little bit of doubt seemingly on his offensive performance this year. I mean, he's a top 10 prospect in the game on every list imaginable, and it's not on the strength of his defense. It's
Right.
elite bat speed. We saw him doing just like special stuff, turning on 97 up and in. Like, last year during his brief debut and during spring training here, he has bat talent in a way that you just very simply do not find. And that's in terms of like bat to ball as well as just bat speed. Um, and I think last year it was clearly exposed that he had some plate discipline issues, was prone to chase outside the zone. I'm sure that will continue a little bit, but I think we're in a situation here where the lineup is so stacked. When a lefty comes in to pitch, like the Ryan Mountcastles, the Taylor Wards, I'm sorry, the Tyler O'Neills of the world, having a Taylor and Tyler in the outfield is going to be such a problem this year.
Welcome to my life as
Yeah,
a kid.
right.
Tyler was always Taylor. Like everybody called me Taylor. I get it.
Yeah. So having Tyler O'Neill, and like I said, like Mountcastle on the bench who will come in versus a lefty, I think Basayo's going to see a lot of favorable situations, favorable matchups against righties. And I mean, I have very little doubt he's not going to poke 2025 out this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it comes down to Basayo or Beavers for this conversation. I lean towards Basayo as well. And kind of to your point about he's going to get favorable matchups. I think he's going to get more favorable matchups than Beavers can get. Just the outfield is pretty crowded right now, and I expect Beavers to play a lot because I think he's probably a preferable defensive option over Ward or O'Neill late in the game. So I expect Beavers like finish a lot of games in the corner. He's pretty fast, honestly, too, so he could pinch run. But in terms of like starting him over Ward, over O'Neill, like how often is that going to happen? He's not really a center fielder, so I worry about Beavers in terms of like getting his shot in 2026 fully to be a rookie of the year is going to be tough to do. Whereas Basayo, I expect him to play a good amount, whether that's at DH or catcher. I still think Rutschman will be like the catcher 70% of the time, but Basayo maybe the other 30% and get a good amount of DH opportunities. And he's going to be the guy, if he's not playing that day, to be subbed in to face like a right-handed reliever or something over a Cowser or something like that. So I could see Basayo kind of getting those opportunities, whereas Beavers maybe not as frequently. So yeah, I would lean towards Basayo a little bit as well. And yeah, I think the catcher, the added value of a catcher could maybe help him make that point for the larger league too, to be rookie of the year for the entire American League. But we'll see about that. But yeah, Basayo, I'm excited. He was really good in the spring. He looked like he's figured some stuff out. But you know, there's also the whole Jake Fox of it all. It's spring training numbers don't always mean regular season numbers. So we'll see there. But
Super
cool.
quick,
Yeah.
super quick. Sorry. I do want to mention Anthony Nunez. I was like tempted to make a bolder pick here. I'm sticking with the safe one, but I mean, like Anthony Nunez can make the ball do things that so many major leaguers cannot. And I think that, although it technically was because of Keegan Aiken's injury that he was allowed to come back up here, like he really does he has very special stuff. And there's a world where we scrape into the playoffs and he is the guy in the eighth inning or so, like battling Andrew Kittredge for that like primary setup man role. I mean, he is really that good, and there's a world where he just absolutely takes off this year.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think the other pitcher I'll mention, he's not on the team now, but Trey Gibson could be up at some point. He could start. He could be impactful down the stretch. Again, I think it's tough for like a pitcher that only plays half the season, or even like a reliever that pitches like once every 3 days or whatever, to like usurp even like an average hitter because they're in so
Yeah,
much. But good points for sure.
So just real quick before we move on from this, Eli, I just kind of wanted to clarify. So you feel like it's a pretty safe prediction that like Basayo would hit 20 or 25 home runs this year?
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
Full
Yeah.
faith and confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to see
Cool.
if they had the projections still up on Baseball Reference because they do like their
I
projection system,
I
but
did look at this actually the other day, and I think they predicted him for 9.
that seems far too low. But I mean,
Yeah, it looks like I'm staring at Pacoda baseball prospectuses, and they have him slated for 19. Um, I will note that's in 460 plate appearances, so they have him platooning a good amount, probably.
So
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
so just to clarify, I'm looking at the Baseball Reference projections, and they predict that he's going to have a 707 OPS, 231 batting average, 301 on base, 406 slug, and 9 home runs, 32 RBIs, over 234 at bats.
is that just as a catcher though? Like sometimes they break it down like
hmm.
just as a catcher versus just as a DH or something. Because those just 9 home runs seems low, unless,
Well,
Can I
Fangraphs, they have the Zips model. They have 23 home runs projected for him, 107 WRC plus, which feels like,
yeah.
yeah,
can I share my screen real quick, or
please let's halt the
is that too
podcast.
much? Yeah. Well, I
I mean,
rec
yeah, but we can take your word for it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think
mean,
the other thing about that was it was like 200 something plate appearances, which I don't see
Was
a
right.
low.
world where he only gets 200 plate appearances. So,
I was confused about that. Yeah.
I
cool.
see your projection. Okay. Yeah, seems low to me. I
Yeah.
see what you're, but yeah, you are right. The projection on Baseball Reference does say 9 home runs, which,
Okay.
yeah, the plate appearances just is half of what everyone else is saying. And
It
if you
it
double
should
it,
be.
it's 18, and that's right around the realm of what.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
all right, let's move on to Cy Young. Again, this could be more interesting because there's a reliever in the mix. There's a couple starters in the mix. Um, who wants to go first on Cy Young? Eli, I feel like you're the resident pitching
Sure.
person, so you want to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Kyle Bradish. I love what Trevor Rogers did last year. I think he is one of the most popular regression candidates in the entire league. Um, I think, Rogers has a lot to love, um, particularly if you find a site that does have Arsenal metrics and grades like tunneling effects and that kind of thing. Um, you know, Rogers does extremely well on those. He is obviously not I'm going to outstuff you and blow 99 past you. So there's a lot to like, and there's reason to think it's more sustainable than the stuff would imply. But we have a guy in Kyle Bradish who does throw mid 90s, has two of the nastiest breaking pitches in the entire league. Um, yeah, very, very simply, I cannot discount Bradish from like absolutely setting the world on fire this year, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think the only potential knock on him was they might hold him back a little bit in terms of inning load. Whereas you wouldn't think Rogers has those same constraints, but he could get knocked around enough that it will bridge that gap a little bit. So,
Yeah, the only thing that gives me confidence is he did come back last year and
mhm.
threw 30 innings or so and had a normal off season. And so I think if this was I think you're careful if anything was weird in the prep for the season, but like the fact that he did come back and then shut down normally and everything, I have some confidence they'll let him loose.
Yeah, fair enough. Jess, what are you thinking about Cy Young?
Not to be repetitive here, but it's probably got to be Bradish. I mean, I think if he pitches the entire season, I don't see a world in which it's not him. I don't feel like that's possible. The only way it isn't him by the end of the season is he's injured.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the stuff is clearly better, I mean, to my eye. And he even more than I mean, Rogers became like it felt like automatic last year, where every time he pitched, I was like, yeah, the Orioles are probably going to be in this game. They might win. Bradish has felt like that for 3 years now, even though again he's been hurt the last two. The only other name I'll throw in the mix is Ryan Helsley. Um, he came here to do a job. It's for him. I think I'm sure he views it as a 1 year deal. I think it's got what a mutual option or player option for next year. I can't
Player
remember.
option, yeah.
I'm sure he's viewing it as this is a 1 year deal. I'm going to Baltimore. I'm going to dominate for a year and then go get $80 million somewhere. but he needs to perform first. And he looked really, really good in that game against the Nationals the other day. He's hitting triple digits. Like you said, he's got the new pitch. I think he's going to be really, really good. Um, but I mean, if the Orioles are good and he's good, you put him in there in the mix for like leading the league in saves. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. It's a reliever, even a really good one. Are you going to put him above like, Bradish, who could potentially be a top 10 type of starter? Probably not. So I think like if I had to pick, I would still say Bradish as well. So to be boring, it'd be a clean sweep. But I think Helsley deserved a little bit of a mention here.
Definitely.
I mean, let's say we take Bradish out of the picture and, we're predicting who the second place. Are you picking Helsley over I don't know, Boz, for instance,
I mean, it depends on the
or
numbers you're looking.
Eflin?
I mean, if you're looking at
Yeah.
like
Rogers.
WAR, yeah.
Hmm?
I mean, if
I
Rogers, yeah. I mean, if you're
yeah,
looking at like WAR, they're all going to be ahead of him because even a good closer is probably gonna be like
right.
2 WAR. Like I don't know versus these good like a solid starter is going to be like 2.5 to 3.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, there was the Zach Britton season, whatever, got a decade ago now. Um, where I mean, didn't he finish second to like Porcello or whatever, and he probably
Yeah.
should have won it.
Yeah.
Like if you have that kind of a season, sure, I'll put you. I might even put you ahead of Bradish if you're Zach Britton 2016 good.
Hmm.
Um, hopefully you get to pitch in the playoffs, unlike Zach Britton in
You
2016.
had to say it. You had to say it.
Had to open up that wound.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk MVP. This feels like a pretty easy conversation. That's probably going to be another round of boring answers, but I'll ask it anyway. Eli, who's your Orioles MVP and potentially AL MVP?
Yeah. I tried to talk myself into saying Pete, but I can't do it. It's Gunner.
It's Gunnar.
That's all I
Jesse.
need to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Henderson.
Yeah. I mean Pete is feeling like the face of the team right now, and that's worth something. But MVP, I mean Gunner's just awesome. It's got to be
Yeah.
him. Um,
Shortstop, first base alone is
Yeah.
such a big distinction,
well, and base running, like, I mean
Yeah.
that's where the couple wins. And Pete, I don't think I haven't followed Pete super close. Doesn't strike me as the best base runner in the world. So, we'll
He's
see.
not.
I, I,
Yeah.
I mean, Alonso would have to, hit 65 home runs and, have 1,000 OPS, and Gunnar Henderson would have to have like a 750 OPS and like 17 home runs, and
Well, yeah, I think if those are the numbers,
that's
Pete's
like
running away with
right.
it. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
right. Not likely to happen.
I will say I think 17 is what Gunner had last year with the shoulder injury though. So I guess it's not outside the realm of
No,
possibility.
I know. Tied with Jackson Holiday and I think
Right.
Ramon Laureano for the team
Right.
lead.
So depressing.
Who didn't play the final 2 months with the Orioles, tied for the team lead in home runs. All right. Any other straggler awards you guys think people have a chance at? Silver Slugger, uh, Gold Glove, Relief Man. Anybody. I mean, I guess Helsley's in there for the relief award potentially. Gold Glove is one I'm interested in. The Orioles defense was bad last year. It's a lot of the same players, but new coaches. Anybody you think could sniff a gold? Nope. Eli saying no.
I don't think so. I have a lot of confidence that Colton Cowser can be like a perfectly fine average center fielder. I don't think he's ever going to break into the realm of plus. And there's like Cedon Rafaela, and there are really elite center fielders in the American League. Um, Taylor Ward's not going to do it. Tyler O'Neill's not going to do it. Pete Alonso's not going to do it. Holiday, I guess maybe there's a world if he, truly comes back in a couple weeks and like
Yeah.
he could be good, but
Holiday's such a weird one because he has the physical skills to be a very good second baseman, but the metrics are like
right,
awful. So
yeah,
I don't know what's going on there.
that would just be projecting some, growth in a 23-year-old or whatever he is now. But
Right. Yeah. Fair
yeah,
enough.
I don't see it though. I don't even really believe in Adley for that. Like,
Yeah. I mean, maybe
yeah,
maybe one of the starting pitchers is a good fielder. Like that's always a weird thing where a pitcher gets the Gold Glove. Like Jim Palmer won it like a billion times.
I,
Mike
I
Messina
have
won
not
one.
I have not done a lot of research on the pitcher fielding metrics, admittedly, so
Fair enough.
I'll have to hold judgment on that.
Um, Jesse, any thoughts on Gold Glove or Silver? I mean, Silver
I
Slugger is kind of more boring, I guess, but It's like,
and this isn't a scenario because he's not going to get the playing time, but the only, arguable one potentially is like if Mountcastle played every day at first base, but
yeah,
he's never going to have like the playing time to be able to do that. And even if he did, he probably still wouldn't win it regardless. So,
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
like the only it was interesting to me that Enrique Bradfield was still with the team this past weekend with the Nationals games. Like he wasn't going to make the team clearly, but the team feels like they're exposing him to more and more stuff to be
Right.
like just like be familiar with this environment. Like whether that's they're going to want him up at some point to be like the speed off the bench or the glove or whatever. Again, he's not going to probably play enough to be in Gold Glove contention, and rookies don't really win Gold Gloves anyway, but that's like the guy in the system that's high enough in the system. If he comes up though, plays center, shifts Cowser back to a corner, I think Cowser could be a Gold Glove candidate in a corner. But that's a whole lot of things that are not going to happen in time for any of these guys to win an award there. Um, all right, cool. And then Silver Slugger, I think Pete Gunner, you know,
Pretty much
easily
it.
placed. Yeah,
Maybe Adley if he returns to form, but
yeah,
it's been a
yeah.
couple years.
All right. Well, the big one is win-loss record projection or prediction rather. I guess we're projecting our prediction. But what do you guys think? I think the over-under for wins for a lot of places is like 84 and a half, 85 and a half. Eli, what do you think about that over-under and then maybe specific win total?
Yeah, I think I will take the over and I'm not going to go much over. Like I think we're going to be like an 86 win team. I think the true talent of the team, particularly off, if the offense does round into form the way we hope it will, I think the true talent could be higher than that, but I think that we're going to have a lot of like near 500 records against these other awesome teams in our division, and it's like just going to be slugging it out. So I think there are fewer opportunities to beat up on bad teams, which are that's an inherent part of any 95 to 100 win team. So um I think, yeah, I think the quality of the division is going to knock it down a little bit. And I'm seeing us at 86 and whatever is left from that
70,
76.
76. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Totally fair projection. Jesse, what do you think?
So not gonna be very far off here, but I'll say 85. So right in that same ballpark.
Okay. Yeah, I had to give my predictions to Camden chat, and I wasn't really like digging too deep, but I did say 89 wins, so I'll be the optimist. I was the optimistic Camden chat as well. Most of the writers said 87 wins, so they're kind of, but we're all in the same ballpark. I mean, 87, 89, like this is the difference of like a hot streak here or there, or a
Sure.
cold streak here or there. So, that does feel like about what the team is, an 85 to 90 win team. And I guess the follow-up question on that, guys, is that going to be good enough to get into the playoffs? Mine at 89 feels like you're getting in the playoffs. 85, 87, I don't know. So Eli, I guess you're the most interesting one. Is
Well,
87 getting
Eli said 86,
I said
but
86? I'm
86. Yeah.
sorry.
yeah,
Both
yeah.
are okay. So both are kind of on the border there because I don't.
That might be a crucial win. The difference between 87 and 86, that could be really, really significant for the Orioles making the playoffs or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, what got in the playoffs last year? It was 87 wins, with the Tigers got in, but 87 for the Astros did not get in.
Yeah.
So you guys don't think they're making it?
I I don't know. It's really hard. Um I I would go like 60-40. I think we can grab a wild card.
Hmm.
Like I believe that we will get in. Um but if we end up, yeah, I don't know. If we end up exactly at my 86, it does seem really difficult, but I guess like, we have I'm looking around the league. Like Tigers won 87 last year, Astros 87, and nobody else was between, I guess like the only other teams that were 500 but we're below that were like the Royals and the Rangers. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to like do too much mental, computation in my head right now. I think that I think I think we will scrape in.
Okay. So a down year for some other teams then. So you can
Yeah.
maybe the
And
I
I
mean
think
that's
the AL East is just throwing punches left and right on these other divisions and knocking down their win
I mean, I
totals.
do think like you could say in terms of like where the wins are going to come from in the rest of the league, like I think the Tigers could slide down a little bit. Like I think their offseason was fine. I don't love the Framber Valdez move. I don't Justin Verlander, I don't know. So maybe they could lose a couple. The Royals, I think, could take a step back. The Twins seem worse this year. Um, the Angels seem pretty terrible. But then I don't know. The A's are kind of interesting. Like I don't know. I don't know. It's I think what we're gonna have happen is I think the Blue Jays have to come back to reality a little bit, even though they they did a bunch of spending, but they weren't as good last year as their record indicated, and they got hot in the playoffs, which is great. But I think they could lose a couple more games, and um, I think the Yankees aren't going to be as good as they were last year. They basically ran it back with the same team, and that isn't usually the recipe for success. You need to iterate a little bit, and they just didn't really do that. So
I,
So the only problem I would say about that, Tyler, so I agree with you that and sorry to cut you off, Eli, but I do think that the Yankees are going to be worse than people expect them to be. However, to compensate for that, unfortunately, I think the Red Sox are going to be better than people expect them to be. And I feel like it's going to be kind of those two factors are going to kind of even themselves out,
I mean, the Red Sox were good
unfortunately.
last year, though. I mean, the pitching is
Yeah.
even better now, but the Red Sox are good.
I
yeah,
think people are sleeping on the Red Sox, and I despise the Red Sox, but I do think people are kind of sleeping on them.
yeah, they could be really, really, really good. They could be terrifying, and they like still have a bunch of depth that they can trade from to improve at the deadline too. I mean, they have five outfielders right now, like four of whom are all stars. Potentially like Anthony Abreu, Rafaela, and Duran could all be all stars. um, and then
Yeah,
they have Masataka Yoshida. Yeah,
yeah.
but I think the one thing, so the Baseball Prospectus podcast, Five and Dive, they do these like division previews and they go and they do a breakout candidate for every player. And the one thing that they flagged with the Blue Jays that I thought was really interesting was they said it's really hard to figure out who from this team could take a step forward. Like
Hmm.
pretty much everyone hit their absolute best outcome last year. And you look at like George Springer, who's now like, what is he, 36 or 37 or whatever.
Yeah, he's been amazing how long he's been good for. Yeah.
Right, but you have to expect him to take a little step back. And Kevin Gossman, how long can he keep it up? And then, Trey Savage is already hurt. So I kind of agree. I think like there's a world where the Blue Jays take a step back this year.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why where I'm thinking, and that's how the 89 wins come together. I mean, it's not going to be easy. The division is really tough. There is a world where four teams come out of the East and make the playoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
three teams made it last year, so it's not that out of left field. All right. So then, I mean, you're saying squeeze into the playoffs. Jesse, it sounds like you're saying no, and I'm saying yeah, they'll make the playoffs probably as a wild card. I think I'm with you, Jesse, in terms of the Red Sox being pretty scary. So I almost think the Red Sox could win the division. The Orioles finish second. I don't think that's crazy. Maybe third, the Yankees second, something like that. Um,
Well, the Blue Jays. You're putting the Blue Jays before or
I
below
say the
us?
Red Sox. I mean, if we win 89 games, and somebody's got to be below us. I don't think 89 is fourth place.
Yeah.
I think 89 at worst is third place.
That would be
But
pretty
I
crazy.
Yeah,
but you think the Yankees are finishing above the Blue Jays?
yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
The Blue Jays, look, the Blue Jays were super fun, and I was rooting for them. Um, in a lot of ways last postseason, but I think Eli's point is good about who else can really take a step forward. And even if you look like run differential last year, they won like five or six more games than they should have based on like their run differential. Like I don't know. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
they went and got Dylan Cease, who like
That's what I mean.
wild.
Yeah, they lost Bichette, but they got Cease,
I'm not wild about Cease though.
Hmm.
I mean, the talent's really good, but the numbers are never like apart from like that one season with the White Sox, they're never like amazing. It's like
Yeah.
okay, yeah, it was those were five good innings. Like, and he's got
Yeah.
a 4.2 ERA now. Like, okay, that was fun, I guess. I don't know. It just felt like an overpay. But yeah, so I guess I'm trying to rationalize it. But if you're winning 89 games, I think you're a second place, maybe a third place team. I can't see you win 89 and come in fourth place. So
Right. I was just thrown off by the Yankees ahead of the Blue Jays, given what you had said before about the Yankees, you feeling like not being that good. So that's why I was
Well,
just
I
trying
think
to.
both of them could come back to reality a little, not
Hmm.
reality, just like drop down a little bit. I like running it back. They're both, I mean, they're not both running it back. The Blue Jays did make some changes. The Yankees are pretty much running it back. I don't know that I buy the Blue Jays for like sustained success. And Eli's point about what he just said made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with just a bold prediction if you guys have one. I did actually have to do one for Camden chat, so I can go. And it kind of runs counter to some of the stuff I said about the bullpen, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The Orioles are gonna recapture the magic of 2012, and they're gonna lead the league in one-run wins, which is gonna allow them to squeeze into the playoffs as a wild card team.
That
What do you,
is
what do you think?
It's brilliantly bold. I yeah, I support the motion and the vision. Um, I think our offense is going to score way too many runs to have that many one-run games.
Okay, I see, but I'm kind of like hedging the bullpen a little bit. Like
Yeah,
the Helsley will be good, so he'll
right.
lock it down, but Keegan Aiken's gonna give up a home run here, and
We're gonna
3 to make
score
it a
seven, but we're gonna give up six, basically, is what you're
yeah.
saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
The
That's the
bullpen will
prediction.
work into the save situation, and then
Exactly.
Helsley
At
will
least
lock
like
it
for
down.
part of the season. Like come August, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the seventh, eighth, ninth innings. But like April, May, it's gonna be wobbly, and we're gonna have to, it's a rickety bridge to get to Helsley, is my thought process there.
My
All
bold
right.
prediction is Kyle Bradish is going to lead the major leagues, all qualified starting pitchers, in percentage,
Strikeout
strikeout rate.
percentage. Okay.
Yes. Last year he came back and he had like a 37% K rate in his short stint. And, that was a short stint, but the dude just has the ability to spin it like very few people do. And I think it's bold in two ways. A, assuming that he qualifies and, his arm holds up all year and the Orioles are letting him go deep into games. But B, yeah, he's got to beat out Tarek Skubal and Garrett Crochet and some of these big strikeout artists. So um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Feel good about it though.
The qualifying part could be tough because you got to throw what 162 innings, right? You need to throw one inning per game that your team plays, I think.
I thought it was a little low. I think it's like 140 something.
Okay. Because
I'll
yeah.
look it. I'll look it up while Jesse gives his.
Okay. Yeah, Jess, what do you think?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess, you guys can tell me how bold or not bold you both feel like this is, but I think the Orioles will have four guys that hit 30 home runs.
Hmm. That's pretty bold, I think.
That is
You
bold.
think so?
How
Who
many
are
teams
they?
have done
Okay.
that? That's
How many
Who are
seems
the
teams
like
four?
not
have done that?
doesn't feel
So
like a super common occurrence.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like a couple years ago, or I feel like a few years ago, the Orioles had something similar to this, although maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think so. I know last year we had the embarrassment with nobody hitting 20, but I think before that we had a few guys hit 30. But of course the two closest things to locks are Alonso and Henderson. So there's two right there. And then I'm thinking some combination of I think at least one of them is going to be an outfielder. It's probably going to be Taylor Ward, but I'm allowing some room or some possibility for Tyler O'Neill and Kowser to return to form. Um, yeah, and then so I think that's basically where it's going to be coming from. I think those possibilities of O'Neill and uh yeah, O'Neill and Ward and Kowser are more likely than somehow Mayo getting the opportunity to you know just get the playing time, etc. And especially with Westberg returning, I don't think there's much. And even if he did play all year at third base, that still, I think 30 is a stretch. But yeah, so I think it's going to be some combination of outfielders most likely that are going to be knocking the 30.
And you
I
said
also
four
mhm,
players to hit 30.
four players.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
like trying to Google it very quickly. I'm seeing, I don't see the Orioles on here, but this is not the most robust search that I've done here. It does look like the Braves did it in 2023. They had five players: Acuna, Albies, Olson, Azuna, and Austin Riley.
Hmm,
Mm.
Um, the
I feel
Twins,
like I remember this actually. Yeah.
the Twins and the Astros both did it in 2019. The
it was
Twins
all
had five.
2019, of course.
Yeah, the
The
Twins had
juice ball.
five, and the Astros had four. Um, but then it looks like the most recent one after that is like 2009. The Phillies, Ryan Howard, Raul Ibanez, Chase Utley, and Jason Worth. But again, this is not like a full list here. So yeah, it has happened, but
I also should have thrown Basayo on that list as well, like as a
well, you think he's
possibility.
hitting nine home
So,
runs. So I don't even know.
well, I don't think he's hitting nine, but I actually think the likeliest outcome is he doesn't hit 20. But I think he'll get close to 20 in the 15 to 20 range. But
But also maybe
I
30.
thought yeah, right. I'm saying
This
it's a
prediction's bold. It's
possibility.
all over
It's a
the place.
possibility, It's a
Yeah.
possibility, but if I were to guess, I'd say he's in the 15 to 20. I
Yeah.
just think that yeah, I think Henderson, Alonso, and then some combination of predominantly outfielders.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, it is not out of this world to think about that, which was I think something Elias wanted to do this offseason. He wanted to add power. And he did that, especially with Ward and Alonso. So I mean that'd be great. And I think if there was have four players hitting 30 home runs and then they only win 84 games, something terrible has happened to the pitching staff. But I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I will also note, quick follow up. Tyler was right. It is one per inning, so Bradish would need 162 innings in my prediction. And if he does, then yeah, maybe we're winning more than 100, or maybe we're winning more than 86 games. 186 would be crazy. That would be
Got to be
clean
some kind
sweep
of
through the
record,
postseason. Yeah,
Like each of our wins counts as two wins, that's how we're
that'd be
getting
nice.
or
Yeah,
maybe it's a point
So
system like the Premier League or hockey.
in base, yeah,
They made a shift.
right.
That's part of the new CBA. All right, well, that's
Mm.
enough of that. We're gonna wrap up the episode here because we've talked for long enough. Sounds like Jesse, you're gonna try to post on Friday a opening day recap. Is that right?
That's the plan. Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
So
Yep.
yeah, subscribe to the podcast if you want to hear that. You can do that on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on your preferred podcast app. You can also follow us on Blue Sky at The Warehouse Pod. You can email us, thewarehousepod@gmail.com, and give us a rating and a review wherever you are looking for us or hearing us. Give us a positive rating and a comment and a review, and that helps the algorithm get us out to more people. So we'd really appreciate it. But yeah, that is all we've got for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, my name is Tyler,
I'm Jesse.
and I'm Eli.
and this has been the Warehouse Podcast. See you.